The following program is underwritten by the generous support of Associates of Glens Falls and Loomis and Lipan Insurance. Since 1852, they have been assisting both businesses and individuals across the country secure the most comprehensive insurance products available. Associates of Glens Falls and Loomis and Lipan are one of New York's largest independently owned insurance agencies. Public affairs programming on Look TV is underwritten by the generous support of Pinnell's Restaurant, classic Italian American food since 1922, and Stored Tech, technology solutions for computers, networks, and phone. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
1922, Babe Ruth debuts with the Yankees. WGY signs on air. Exterminator wins the Saratoga Cup, and Pinnell's Restaurant opens its doors for the very first time. For 5 generations, Pinnell's has been preparing delicious Italian food, served in a comfortable, home-like setting where everyone is welcome. 90 years of authentic Italian recipes, 90 years of the freshest ingredients, and 90 years of the finest classic Italian dishes, all made daily by hand. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga dining tradition since 1922.
Firms deal only with prevention, the systems that block hackers and viruses. Stored Tech knows the root cause is actually good people doing bad things. So we offer a security training program which includes certifying all participants to show they understand the basics.
Technology solutions for computers, networks, and phones. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
All right, I'll go through the motion, but I've already opened the meeting, and I opened it at 6:30 as was published, and we went into executive session. After I opened the regular meeting, we also had a motion to move into executive session, and that passed unanimously. And the purpose of the executive session was to discuss the state's 3 grievances. There was 2 of them related to a particular individual and arrangement that we have at our cemetery. And so we, listened to both sides of the issue, and no consensus has been taken at this time. And so we moved out of executive session, and now we're back into regular session. And for the sake of the cameras, it's a regular town board meeting. It's May 6, 2019. The time is now 7:13 p.m. And so we'll begin the regular agenda as of now. And that is, if you all please rise, and joining us, Supervisor Anthony Medawar, in saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
Is that what it said? Yeah. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Next is a short Board of Health meeting that we need to set a public hearing. So is there a motion to move into the Queensbury Board of Health?
I'll move it.
Moved by Councilman Medawar, seconded by Councilman Ferrone. All those in favor of moving into the Queensbury Board of Health, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. We're now in the Queensbury Board of Health. So, Karen, the first and only item?
Sure. We have a resolution setting a public hearing on a sewage disposal variance application of Charles Mason.
Thank you. Charles Mason lives at 300 Cleverdale. The agent is Dennis McElroy. He's putting in an Elgin trench system, and there's they come in modules. They're an advanced treatment facility. He's putting in 3 rows of 8 of these modules. They're 24 EA modules. And even with the Elgin system, he needs 3 variances. Variance 1 is absorption field to be located 16 feet from the dwelling instead of the required 20-foot setback. Second variance, septic and pump tanks to be located 7 foot from the dwelling instead of the required 10-foot setback. And third and last variance, force main to be located 7 foot from the property line instead of the 10-foot required. Also, as part of this, although it may be moot, on May 20th, when we're setting the public hearing on this matter, the applicant has also asked for a waiver from the Chapter 137 septic inspection upon property transfer law. Because what they're doing is another individual is buying this residence with the intent of taking it down and putting in a brand new septic system. Now, we did not think at the time we had the property transfer law that we would allow that exemption, but as you see tonight, we're going to set a public hearing allowing that to be an exemption. That within a certain time period, you're going to be putting in a new approved septic system by such and such a date. And then you would be given the exemption, if that's the case. So, in any event, we'll have that public hearing and this public hearing on Monday, May 20th. So, any further discussion by the board? Motion to set the public hearing on the sewage disposal variance applications of Charles Mason.
So moved.
Moved by Councilwoman Atherton.
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Medevere. Roll call vote on this, please.
Councilperson Stroud?
Yes.
Medevere?
Yes.
Atherton?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
All right, it passes unanimously. Public hearing set on this for May 20th. That's it for the Board of Health. There was a motion to move out of the Board of Health.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Perone,
No second.
seconded by Councilman Medevere. All those in favor of moving out of the Queensbury Board of Health, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. We're now out of the Queensbury Board of Health. Our next item is public hearing. Karen?
Okay, is the public hearing on the local law 2019 to amend chapter 179 zoning of town code to make certain changes to waterfront residential zones to better protect town water bodies.
Okay. Tonight is a public hearing on this matter. Do you want me to go over it?
I can do it like last time.
Yeah, Councilwoman Atherton also chaired the committee to come up with these potential amending of our waterfront residential zone. So I will let her summarize those changes, and you even have the update.
I do.
Okay, please do.
Okay. So most of these changes are to do really with stormwater runoff. But the first, in order to protect our waters. The first one, however, is Class A Marina on Glen Lake to exclude Class A Marina on Glen Lake, Lake Sunnyside, and Dream Lake. The second change is to change the Class B definition, remove or the owner's gratuitous guest, thereby limiting the use to owner and one renter. The third change is to increase the no-cut zone to 75 foot for all declassified streams and regulated wetlands and rivers. 4 is to add a 10-foot vegetative pathway at a width of no more than 10 feet and in a manner to be effective in controlling erosion. The ground cover planting requirements of 179.8040B shall still be applicable in this area. For all no-cut zones, add a no-cut of woody vegetation greater than 1 inch DBH. There is an additional change, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Increase vegetative buffers, Glen Lake, Lake Sunnyside, Dream Lake, and Round Pond to 20 feet. Lake George and DEC classified streams and regulated wetlands to 35 feet. Change 7, add, if a roadway is located within the required buffer area, it is not to be used in the buffer calculation. 8, add further triggers to site plan review, which is to add a new section for construction within a critical environmental area, stating a site plan is required for, quote, any construction including new buildings and additions to existing buildings that results in the creation of or increase in floor area. These were sent off to Warren County and to the APA, and the APA came back with requesting us to make a further change, and in fact a little bit more, a little bit stronger change, so that it's instead of within 35 feet extending, well, the buffer zone, within 35 feet extending inland from all points along the mean high water mark of all lakes and ponds and within 75 feet of all regulated streams, wetlands, and rivers. The APA asked us to also include no vegetation may be removed within the first 6 feet of the shoreline. And we already had a no woody vegetation greater than 1 inch in DBH may be removed. And then they asked us to put in between the 6-foot mark and the 35-foot mark. So the area shall be maintained as an undisturbed natural buffer stream. So those are all the changes.
Okay. And the Warren County Planning Department has approved this, and they find the project will not create any significant intermunicipal or countywide impacts. And as Councilwoman Atherton has pointed out, after we amended our proposed amending of the waterfront residential zone in accord with what the Ed Running Park Agency had requested, we got a letter from them on May 3rd saying that our amendments, as amended, got approved by the Adirondack Park Agency. So there's a public hearing on this tonight. I'm going to open the public hearing, and then when the public is done speaking to this proposed amending of waterfront residential zone, we're going to do a seeker, and then we'll vote on it. So I'll open the public hearing. Is there any member of the public that wishes to speak to this proposed resolution amending waterfront residential zone? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Paul Derby, 31 Canterbury Drive, Glen Lake. I just had a question. I'm sorry, it just came to me. So these APA changes, are they changing just within the APA? Do they affect Glen Lake? Or are the...
It's all, let's just go back to what they requested. So what the letter states that they sent back at the first time, the town of Queensbury's vegetative cutting restrictions are in some ways more protective than those provided in Section 806 of the APA Act, and we applaud the town for this. While most of all the language in the proposed amendment meets the criteria for agency approval, staff have a concern regarding the effect of some of the proposed language in Section 179-6050B1A. Specifically, staff believe that the following underlined language in the proposed amendment would result in restrictions that are less restrictive than the APA's acts for the area 6 feet above the mean high water mark. So there's, right, so, yes, so that, so they want the 6 feet in there.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, I'm sorry I read that, but I actually didn't get it. So the 6 feet from the high water mark, there's a no cut zone. So you just remove the
No cut at all.
no cut at all. So
Lots of vegetation or anything.
okay,
Vegetation.
so it doesn't affect any of the other setbacks that we have. Okay, good. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Chris Nowitzki, Lake George Waterkeeper. I'd like to start off by saying that we support the town on their actions, and this is just another example of the continued leadership that we feel that the town has shown on important issues that have been impacting water quality. Through our scientific data collection, we've seen the decreased water quality, but I think more important, many have seen and observed the changes in not only Lake George, but in the other lakes in the town. So I think that this is good that the town is taking a look at this and tightening up these regulations and really taking a look forward to protect the waters for the next generation. I think it's important to note the setbacks on streams. Really, This is the most effective manner at protecting water quality in the streams tributary to the lakes by that no-cut buffer. And by setting a standard of 75 feet, I think that is one that we should strive for, and that others who are considering this should follow the town's lead. Secondly, on the increasing the shoreline restoration buffer on Lake George and the others on Glen Lake, Lake Sunnyside, as well as increasing the density is very important. The one question I have, and maybe it's a clarification, currently there is a restoration of 15-foot width, but it's been interpreted by the town zoning department that is a guideline, and it has not always been a requirement when plans are going through site plan review. I think it should just be clear that it's the intent of the town that be a requirement and not simply a guideline, because sometimes the guideline is just viewed as that and not implemented on the plans. So again, I want to say that we support the town on this, and thank you again for setting that standard that should lead other municipalities in the Lake George Basin and elsewhere. Thank you.
So it says, where no vegetative buffer exists, one shall be created with an effective horizontal width measurement from the shoreline as follows. It goes on. So it sounds like that, but there's also shall in the current, and it's been interpreted to be a guideline. Our definition of shall is
You will.
definitive.
What shall?
That's what I just
Okay.
thought it'd be good to have on the record. Great, thank you.
All right, thank you. Yes, sir. State your name for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. For the record, Lucas Doby, 24 Mark Drive, just up off of T Hill Road. And probably you know me from doing a few septic variances. I'm a professional engineer, and so this is pretty well in our wheelhouse. So I just had a couple of questions, because once this is enacted, my phone's going to be ringing off the wall with asking for some interpretations. And particularly with Section D, the new no cuts to the streams and the wetlands and the buffer, or lakes and all that. I have two projects now that would be impacted by this. So I guess my first question is if this is enacted tonight, is that retro to planning board projects that are going to be current? For example, two of them at the end of May, which could be impacted by this, or is this going to be like a fresh slate once for like the next submission round? Would be my question.
Craig was here, but I think it would.
I think it's if this gets passed tonight, it's effective starting tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's effective when filed with the Secretary of State.
Okay, and that'll probably be tomorrow?
No, actually, it will be sent by the end of the week, and once they get it, usually takes like a week or so to get the letter back, so.
So
yeah.
when we get
As
the
soon as
letter
it's
back from the
filed.
Department of State, it could be maybe 2 weeks, and at that point, it'll be effective. Okay?
And then if we're unable to meet some of these, for example, a wetland near a driveway or no other alternatives, I'm wondering if this will be if there could be relief granted from that by the planning board, because we do have the freshwater wetlands permit review at the planning board, or if that's an area variance item. That's, because I'm sure we're going to have that question. And then just finally, the 75-foot no cut to the streams, wetlands, and rivers. It's pretty close to what the Park Commission was trying to work through some years back to the 100 feet. So I appreciate we're not going quite that restrictive, and just wonder if there's any more discussion of possibly reducing that to maybe 50. Because that's, I understand what we're trying to do, or if we're doing 35 to a lake, 75 is going to be difficult in a lot of spots. So just some food for thought for that. So that's all I have. So thank you, board.
All right, thank you. But the studies that I have read, the further the distance from the potentially impacted water body or wetland, the greater the protection of that wetland from human activity and other pollutants. So, 100 feet would be better, but I guess this committee felt that 75 feet was reasonable. And so I don't sense any willingness to change that to 50. Anybody else like to speak to the town board on the proposed waterfront residential amending? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Are you all familiar with part one?
Yeah.
Then are you ready for part two of the seeker, the environmental assessment?
Yep.
And town council, Bob Hafner, will take us through this.
Okay, the board is ready. Start with question number one. Question number one is impact on land. The proposed action may involve construction on or physical alteration of the land surface of the proposed site.
No. Consensus, no?
That is on page 1 of 10 in part 2 is the list of questions. Those are the questions I'm going to follow. Number.
All right, I haven't got the consensus yet.
I'm sorry.
So no. Okay.
Sorry.
Yep. Go ahead.
Number 2, impact on geological features. The proposed action may result in the modification or destruction of or inhibit access to any unique or unusual landforms on the site.
No.
Number 3, impacts on surface water. The proposed action may affect one or more wetlands or other surface water bodies.
Yes.
Well, because we have a yes, I have to go through all of those sections, A through K, and have you determine whether
The consensus is yes. So
no, whether the choices are no or small impact may occur or moderate to large impact. And we're talking about a negative impact to the environment. Question number A, or letter number A, the proposed action may create a new water body.
No.
no or small impact.
Yeah.
B, the proposed action may result in an increase or decrease of over 10% or more than a 10-acre increase or decrease in the surface area of any body of water.
No.
C, the proposed action may involve dredging more than 100 cubic yards of material from a wetland or water body.
No.
D, the proposed action may involve construction within or adjoining a freshwater or tidal wetland or in the bed or banks of any other water body.
No.
E, the proposed action may create turbidity in a water body, either from upland erosion, runoff, or by disturbing bottom sediments.
No.
F, the proposed action may include construction of one or more intakes or withdrawal of water from a surface water.
No.
G, the proposed action may include construction of one or more outfalls for discharge of wastewater to surface waters.
No.
H, the proposed action may cause soil erosion or otherwise create a source of stormwater discharge that may lead to siltation or other degradation of receiving water bodies.
No.
I, the proposed action may affect the water quality of any water bodies within or downstream of the site of the proposed action.
No.
J, the proposed action may involve the application of pesticides or herbicides in or around any water body.
No.
K, the proposed action may require the construction of new or expansion of existing wastewater treatment facilities. Number 4, impact on groundwater. The proposed action may result in new or additional use of groundwater or may have the potential to introduce contaminants to groundwater or an aquifer.
No.
F, 5, impact on flooding. The proposed action may result in development on land subject to flooding.
No.
6, impacts on air. The proposed action may include a state-regulated air emission source. 7, impact on plants and animals. The proposed action may result in the loss of flora or fauna. Number 8, impact on agricultural resources. The proposed action may impact agricultural resources. Number 9, impact on aesthetic resources. The land uses of the proposed action are obviously different from or are in sharp contrast to current land use patterns between the proposed project and a scenic or aesthetic resource. 10, impact on historic and archaeological resources. The proposed action may occur in or adjacent to a historic or archaeological resource. Number 11, impact on open space and recreation. The proposed action may result in a loss of recreational opportunities or a reduction of an open space resource as designated in any adopted municipal open space plan. 12, impact on critical environmental areas. The proposed action may be located within or adjacent to a critical environmental area. And I have to ask you A and B. A, the proposed action may result in a reduction in the quantity of the resource or characteristic which was the basis for the designation of the CEA. B, the proposed action may result in a reduction in the quality of resource or characteristic which was the basis for designation of the CEA. 13, impact on transportation. The proposed action may result in a change to existing transportation systems. 14, impact on energy. The proposed action may cause an increase in the use of any form of energy. 15, impact on noise, odor, and light. The proposed action may result in an increase in noise, odors, or outdoor lighting. 16, impact on human health. The proposed action may have an impact on human health from exposure to new or existing sources of contaminants. Number 17, consistency with community plans. The proposed action is not consistent with adopted land use plans. Number 18, consistency with community character. The proposed action is inconsistent with the existing community character. You answered all of those in a way that is consistent with the proposed resolution in front of you, which would adopt a secret negative declaration as part of and before adopting this as a local law. So if you want to move forward, resolution.
Okay, any thoughts before we move forward with this from the town board? Seeing none, Catherine, you want to move it? No, make a motion to
I make a motion to approve this.
All right, second, because you were such a fundamental leadership role in this, I thought that you would like to have that opportunity. Any town board member would like to second that motion? Seconded by Councilman Medevere. Roll call vote on this, please, Karen.
Councilperson Medevere?
Yes.
Atherton?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Strauss?
Yeah. And so before we move on, Catherine, I want to thank you for, approving this waterfront residential. A lot of people have talked about it, and I know that Carol Collins is out in the audience, and I know she played a role in this, and Chris Nowitzki's out in the audience, and he played a fundamental role in helping us to guide this, and Paul Derby was here. He played a role in this. Michael Connor, Greg Brown, Lorraine Ruffing, anybody else we're forgetting? So I want to thank all of you for your input and helping Councilwoman Atherton to get to where we are today. So nice work. Thank you. Okay. Next are resolutions. We have quite a few of them. 26. So I'm going to briefly describe 26 resolutions, and then I'm going to give the public an opportunity to speak to any of the resolutions before the town board deals with them. Okay, 26, so be patient. So Karen, you want to start us off with resolution 4.1?
Sure, resolution authorizing hiring of seasonal employees to work for Department of Parks and Recreation.
All right. These are people that are related to other people that work here. So this is to hire Ryan Plansburg, who is the son of Park and Recreation mechanic Jim Plansburg. Caitlin Harrington, she's the daughter of Water Superintendent, Wastewater Director Chris Harrington. Emily Lovering and Evan Lovering, their children of the Park and Recreation Director Steve Lovering. And John Mellon is the son of Rose Mellon, Deputy Town Clerk. So these are summer work, seasonal basis, part-time. Okay? And usually this town board doesn't approve the Park and Rec unless they're related to somebody, and we have to bring that to the public's attention, and it has to be voted on. Resolution 4.2.
Resolution authorizing reappointment of Sarah Gordon as member of Cemetery Commission.
All right, thank you, Sarah Gordon, for continuing to provide your excellent service to our Cemetery Commission. Superintendent Getter definitely appreciates this, and the board appreciates this, and we'll be voting on extending her commission for another 3-year term, commencing as of July 1st, 2019. 4.3.
Resolution approving repurchase of cemetery lot in Pineview Cemetery from Margaret Martin.
Well, that's just what it says. 4.4.
Resolution authorizing business remote deposit service agreement with Glens Falls National Bank.
All right, this is a business remote deposit service agreement with Glens Falls National Bank. In other words, this is an agreement that will enable the town to electronically deposit indirect customer checks into a customer account at the bank, to have such check processed using the procedures permitted by the Federal Check Clearing for the 21st Century Act. Such services shall include the furnishing of check scanning device, a scanner, access to a browser-based software program, and all necessary related materials and documentation. So we will be scanning paper checks and electronically transmitting them to a third-party processor, in this case, the Glens Falls National Bank. Now, we do have to keep paper copies of the checks for 30 days before they get destroyed. Now, there is a provision on fees for this service, but those fees are being waived for the town. We had that discussion today, and that was a good discussion, but let's make it clear, there will be no fees for that service. 4.5.
Resolution authorizing application for funds from Dormitory Authority of State of New York, DASNY, for halfway feeder canal connector trail.
All right, I think I've announced this before, because Betty Little gave me a call, and she's asked if I needed any money for the halfway feeder, or it's called the halfway feeder connector trail. And she offered $150,000. My guesstimate as to the cost would be about $290,000. So this is a resolution accepting that DASNY grant, and it can only be applied towards the actual construction of the trail. It can't be applied towards planning or anything else. But we'll have enough constructing to go on there to be able to cover that. So it's before this town board to approve application for those funds from the Dormitory Authority. Resolution 4.6.
Resolution authorizing establishment of halfway feeder canal connector trail capital project fund number 228.
All right, second, this is creating a capital project fund to be able to utilize the $150,000 and other expenses that might occur from that. And so we're offering to withdraw $120,000 from capital reserve number 61 to put towards this capital project. And again, this will be for design and some of the construction of the halfway feeder connector trail. This will be the last leg. If the Glens Falls Common Council approves the Halfway Brook license agreement on the 15th of this month, and that gives us the go-ahead to start working on that after we put together a lower watershed recreation management plan, which we've already begun working on. So we'll get the Halfway Brook Trail in, and that comes out to Pegging Inlet. Now, to interconnect the major trails within the network, this halfway to feeder connector trail needs to be built. Once that's done, the major framework of the trail system will be done. In other words, Rush Pond connected to Halfway Brook Trail, connected to Halfway Feeder Trail, connected to Feeder Trail, which is connected to the Warren County Bike Trail, and that comes back around, which is connected to the Rush Pond Trail. But also, I'd like to point out to you that the Feeder Canal Trail is also going to be connected to the Champlain Canal Trail, which is connected, to the Erie Canal Trail. So we're going to be connected to a huge system. We're also going to be interconnected within the town to connect our neighborhood, our recreational opportunities, and so forth. It's a great alternative transportation, and it's also healthy to get out and walk, ride a bike, okay? So that's established in the capital project. 4.7.
Resolution setting public hearing on 2016 through 2020 amended agreement for fire protection services between the town of Queensbury and South Queensbury Volunteer Fire Company, Inc.
All right. Going back to 2016, we told the South Queensbury Volunteer Fire Company, we didn't tell them, it kind of was a mutual discussion, that they would give them money to pay off their current bonds. And then they'll use that budget amount to rehab and build their new building, whatever the case might be. So it's in their budget, though, as a debt service. And we want to continue to allow them to use this to design and upgrade the building. So that's what this resolution is allowing them to do. And on May 13th, which is a workshop, there's going to be a short part of the workshop where we carry some of this business forward, and then there's going to be a long part of the workshop where we're going to receive presentations for those people asking for OCTAC on May 13th workshop. So the workshop is going to be in here. We'll be set up there. We'll have a projector and the screen all set up for those that want to use that for their presentations. But to get back to Queensbury South Volunteer Fire Company they've downscaled their building project to basically trying to rehab the current building, but we'll know the details. We'll know more about the details on the 13th. 4.8.
Resolution authorizing engagement of Chief Pete's Lawn Care to mow certain abandoned or neglected properties in town of Queensbury.
All right, well, this is to do the following 7 properties at a cost of $460 per month. 121 West Mountain Road, 1 Main Street, 43 Lambert, 26 Bell, 24 Pinello, 35 Fox Hollow, 72 Linden. 4.9.
Resolution authorizing use of occupancy funds for purchase of town of Queensbury brochures.
Okay, we got a facsimile of the brochure I showed George. Now, that has to come back to me, but that's the printer, if you notice anything in there, but I'm pretty proud of our effort in our new brochure, and so we put out proposals for bids. The lowest bidder was Fort Orange Press to produce 40,000 of those for $5,389. $4.10.
Resolution authorizing transfer of funds from undesignated general fund balance to replenish capital reserve number 64.
All right. We have a couple of million in capital projects. We put together a comprehensive plan. We've gotten, and this isn't all of them, George came in today and we're talking about additionals. From the building and grounds, from park and rec, from the cemetery, from water and wastewater. We didn't get highways yet, but we're going to need money in that capital reserve to pay for these projects going forward. And Connie, I know that you have a new building you wish to have built on the cemetery for work on the equipment as well as storage of the equipment. And we're working on that, but that wasn't in your capital plan. But there's a lot that's not in the capital plan, so we need money over there. Okay, 411.
Resolution authorizing transfer of funds from undesignated general fund balance to highway garage capital project number 208.
All right, we're trying to set aside enough money to pay as much as we can for the new highway garage and the site plan and everything else that's going to house up to 22 of these tandem plows with their huge trucks, with their huge plows. And you've got $250,000 sitting there, and it should be taken care of properly. So this big building, which may cost upwards of $4 million, we're trying to set money aside while you have the sales tax revenue come forward. I think it's the consensus of this board is we want to have the town financially sustainable. That means good times and bad times. Yes, we're in good times. That's when we should be buying and spending and catching up on our vehicle replacement program. So when the bad times come, we can minimize our impact on cutting services to the people, which they've really come to enjoy those services, and also minimize any tax increases. So we're trying to make a sustainable financial future for the town by trying to put as much money as we can aside for this highway garage. 412.
Resolution authorizing closure of highway garage repairs capital project fund number 194.
All right, at one time we thought we could fix up the garage. Our folks went in, we asked them to assess it, the engineers, and they said, yeah, about $900,000, but the building isn't worth it. It's not insulated for most part. If you look at the building from the highway superintendent's office during the winter, you can see the waves of heat just coming out of the building. All right, the building will still be good for maintenance. The first two bays are used for maintenance. The rest of it will be cold storage. If you've been out back, you'll see all the vehicles we have setting out in the yard. They should be inside. All right, once we build the new building and the snowplow trucks, which take a priority because they're $250,000 a piece, will go into the new building, and then the equipment that we have outside in the yard will go in. And it'll also give us room for a new salt barn and other things that we need. All right, so we're trying to prepare for this so that it doesn't become a financial burden to the folks in Queensbury down the road when economic times aren't so bright. 413.
Resolution accepting retirement of assistant to the assessor Carleen Ramsey and authorizing her appointment as part-time employee.
All right, that basically says it. 414.
Resolution authorizing transfer and appointment of Tammy Landers as assistant to the assessor.
Okay, 415.
Resolution authorizing adoption and implementation of respiratory protection program.
All right, so this is an updated respiratory program, and it's before the board to adopt this tonight. 416,
Resolution authorizing hiring of Veronica Stillman as records clerk for the town clerk's office.
417,
Resolution and final order approving extension to Queensbury Consolidated Sanitary Sewer District to serve 894 State Route 9 property.
okay, Fadden has bought the property on the corner of Monterey Road and Route 9. That's the southern terminus of Monterey Road. There used to be a house there. He's filling it in right now. For whatever reason, when they created that Route 9 sewer district, that lot didn't get included. No one seems to know why. It doesn't make any sense. So this is to include it into the sewer district. Now, they're gonna have to put in capital costs. They're gonna have to pay for it like anybody else. They're not gonna get a free ride on this. Mr. Fadden, as we've explained it to him, he's okay with it. He wants his property tied in, and he's willing to pay whatever he has to pay. And we're not making him pay more than he should, just making him pay what he should. 418,
Resolution authorizing participation in Warren County Soil and Water Conservation District Quaker Road MS4 Stormwater and Habitat Improvement Project.
okay, I want to thank the folks of Warren County Soil and Water Conservation District. They applied for and received certain grants from the Lake George Basin Program to deal with drainage and stormwater issues at our Pine View Cemetery and the cemetery brook that goes alongside Quaker Road and the cemetery. Okay, and so the town is going to be providing some of the labor and equipment towards the installation of a pollinator habitat garden. But more importantly, we're going to redo the culvert portions of the access roads. And we're going to make the southern access road, Connie's here to make sure I'm accurate. The southern access road is going to be widened. And the better culverts, new culverts will help make that happen, because right now you can't widen the culvert's not long enough. So this new culvert will help us to do that. So it's going to be basically a habitat improvement program, as well as a very practical, have very practical effects of helping out the people trying to access the cemetery. 419.
Resolution authorizing engagement of Rise Engineering for replacement and installation of street lighting on Main Street and Route 9 $1 million mile.
All right, finally, we can make use of part of that 50,000 clean energy community grant fund that we got. So this is the $24,305. And to change the 118 lamps that we currently have, the decorative lamps on Main Street and the $1 million part of the Route 9. And so they will install 61 LED street lamps on 61 of our decorative lamps on Main Street and 51 on Route 9. And they'll be installed with ICO's HID replacement, which is 36 watt, 4,000 Kelvin, 4,800 lumens with a 5-year warranty. It's DLC qualified and IP64 rated, meaning it's a sealed unit, sealed from moisture and sealed from dust. It will replace the 150 watt high pressure sodium lamps that are currently there. And so they have to also install compatible button style photocells with a 240 volt rating to replace the existing button photocells, because the old photocells will not work. The ones with the high pressure sodium will not work with the LEDs. So you have to put in a new one. So the new system is going to be 36 watts plus 1 watt for the photocell. All right. This is going to reduce our annual pollution output by reducing 58,536 pounds of carbon dioxide, 61 pounds of oxides of nitrogen, 161 pounds of sulfur dioxide, and it is estimated this will reduce the town's annual kilowatt demand by 73,000 538 kilowatts. So we're trying to do our share of being environmentally friendly as well as cost effective, because this is all going to save money for the town taxpayer. 420.
Resolution authorizing and ratifying engagement of IBS septic and drain service for emergency wastewater system repairs in vicinity of North Road, Queensbury.
All right, this is $13,203.56. We had an emergency on North Road. And a sewer line broke. A pressurized sewer line. We had to get it fixed. We had to pump it out. IBS was secured to do this. They were able to do so immediately because you were getting into a situation. We did notify DEC, as we always do, and we got to remedy the situation as fast as we can, but it included getting IBS's septic and drain services and their equipment and some of the equipment they didn't have and they had to rent to get the problem fixed in 2 days. We had to do it. All right, so this was an emergency situation for the basis of public health and safety, and it's $13,203.56. 421.
Resolution authorizing engagement of CT Mail Associates to provide engineering services related to design, bid, and construction administration phases of new highway garage project.
All right, this is $310,000, and the board considers this, you know, considering this fee from CT Mail. We did not go out for RFP or bid on this. We've been working with CT Mail for 3 years on this to design the highway building and site the highway building, and they have a basis of knowledge that I don't think it could be easily attained by an outsider. We think that this figure is very reasonable. We did ask others about it, and they thought it was reasonable. So the town board wishes to engage the services of CT Mal, as CT Mal has performed the preceding engineering and architectural professional services related to the project. And then CT Mal's letter of April 30th, 2019 and standard form agreement are consistent with existing provisions of services. And CT Mal has the skill, expertise, and an established familiarity and comfort level with the project, which may help the project to proceed in a more expedited and efficient manner. There is also a contingency, 10%, that would be $31,000. So this is a resolution to authorize that. The agreement is attached. They are going to design the new facility, and they go on to describe what the parameters were in designing it. They are also going to design site improvements and modifications to accommodate the construction. And they're also going to draw up an RFP for us so that we can go out for construction management services on our own. But they're going to draw up the RFP for us. I think I'm missing, George?
No, you have it all.
All right, so this is the green light to go ahead with designing of the building and the site work for the new highway building that I've been talking about. Yeah, I know, finally. 422.
Resolution scheduling public hearing on proposed local law of 2019 amending Queensbury Town Code, Chapter 137.
All right, well, as you know, our new law, septic inspection upon property transfer, we knew it would need tweaking. It's new. We didn't have anybody else to abide by. We had to kind of develop it. Now other municipalities are using ours for a model. They're tailoring it to their needs as well. Well, one of the things that we forgot, I mentioned it earlier, and we're going to have a public hearing on this on May 20th. We want to change one word, issuance of compliance, rather than occupancy. That was long. Didn't catch it before. The new part really is the property to, there's this exemption. The property to be sold or transferred contains an existing on-site wastewater treatment system, or OWTS, that does not comply with the provisions of the chapter, and the prospective purchasers and or the seller wishes to forego an inspection in favor of installing an approved on-site wastewater treatment system within 6 months of the transfer of property. In order to qualify for the exemption, a notarized affidavit must be submitted to the Building and Codes Enforcement Office stating the existing on-site wastewater treatment system will be replaced within 6 months from transfer of property. The affidavit must be accompanied by a site plan, including adequate detail to demonstrate that the replacement on-site wastewater treatment system will comply with this chapter, together with a check payable to the town of Queensbury in the amount of $2,000. Such funds will be held in a non-interest-bearing escrow account and will be released upon the issuance of a certificate of compliance from the Building and Code Enforcement Office. So, you know, we're amending it to make it better. It's new. 423.
Resolution to amend 2019 budget.
All right, just shifting money where it wasn't seen to be needed to where it was. No big deal. No large amount. 4.24.
Resolution authorizing hiring of temporary seasonal laborers to work at town cemeteries.
All right, the town cemetery would like to hire Jacob Hall, Kyle Miller, Dakota Swan, Austin Reynolds. They're returning. The temporary seasonal laborers, they've already successfully completed their employment physicals. They're returning for seasonal help this year too. The only change to this resolution, as requested by Superintendent Getter, is it says about the middle of June in the first paragraph in the first whereas. She would like that changed to May, if that's okay with the board. She would like to start some of them working weekends before Memorial Day weekend and on Memorial Day weekend. So that we get the cemetery in good shape for Memorial Day weekend too, because that's important. Don't forget about the parade.
Will that lead to a change in the amount of weeks in the result? Will it add 11 weeks? Will it add another 4 weeks in the first result?
Yes, it probably would. Would you do that?
No, I don't believe it will because of the late start this year.
Oh, okay.
Because they're not starting till July 1st.
All right, so the superintendent says no. The only change that she's requesting then is we change June to May in the first whereas. Is that okay with the board?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. 4.25.
Resolution approving audit of bills warrants of April 19th and May 7th of 2018.
Okay. Totaling $32,684.69 and $1,164,953.34 respectively. 4.26.
Resolution adopting written information security policy with and establishing information technology security committee and security officer.
Oh, this is another, thank goodness we're there. All right. You know, we had the audit. And basically, the audit was assessing us for an existence we had at the moment, but we told them, a year from now, we're going to be completely different. And they said, yeah, fine, but we have to look at what's next. All right, so they made this observation, that observation, and we corrected it. And the one thing that they asked us to do was to adopt a written information security policy. And we've been hammering and smithing and hammering and smithing. And then we did some more hammering and smithing. And finally it's here. And it is going to need more. But at least we're going to get it adopted. So we have a policy, and this establishes an IT security committee. This establishes not only the policy, it establishes this committee, and it establishes the IT security officer, who is going to be the chair of the committee. And it outlines the responsibilities of the committee, and it outlines the responsibility of the IT security officer, who is also chair of the committee. And in this case, the IT security officer and chair of the IT security committee will be a job formed by whoever is providing our IT services. Currently, and gladly, it is Stored Tech. They're providing an excellent service. But that may not be, so we wrote it in accord with it being generic so that in the future, if somebody else, some other entity was our IT services provider, they would supply this person. And I'm sure when the committee gets together and reviews this WISP policy, written information security policy, they'll come up with other things. But, you know, I for one have beat myself silly and I'm done. All right, and so I'm also done reviewing the resolution. So now I'll give the public an opportunity to speak to any of the 26 resolutions before this town board tonight. Anybody wish to do so? Indicate your desire. Yes, sir.
George Winters, 4 John Clendon Road. 4.6. Is the city of Glens Falls putting money into this too?
Is that the halfway brook one?
Yes.
Yes.
Halfway feeder canal connector trail?
Yes.
No, it doesn't really involve the city of Glens Falls. This goes from Peggy Ann Road, down Peggy Ann Road. Well, it does. I'm sorry, George. Alongside the watershed, we may ask them for a license agreement, but there may also be enough right-of-way on Peggy Ann for us to build this on our own. So I can't say for sure that it doesn't involve Glens Falls, and might.
Yeah.
So then we go down to National Grid, which cuts over to Luzerne Road. And Luzerne Road, you got a short shot to get to Richardson. And Richardson's already bicycle friendly all the way over to the feeder canal. So we'll have to improve the shoulder on Luzerne Road. We have to get National Grid's permission to use that and do it in accord with how they want it done, use the trail there. So it may involve the city and the watershed that's adjacent to Peggy Ann. But if you're talking about the Halfway Brook Trail, which is another trail,
right,
that does involve the city.
Yeah.
And no, they're not putting anything in for it. They already say they maintain the watershed, and that's their expense and contribution to that trail. But Betty Little has also given us $100,000 to construct that trail.
Yeah. To me, that don't sound quite fair. That the city don't put nothing in it. They're going to benefit just as much as the town of Queensbury. But my own understanding is the town of Queensbury always comes up with the money, and the city of Glens Falls takes the credit for it.
Well, I think they support the endeavor, but...
Yeah, but look how long it's been. You know, when they went up on, remember when Just Water went up on the mountain?
Yeah.
We were supposed to get something up there too. Where'd that go?
Well,
Just Water put it in their pocket, didn't they?
No, they give us $10,000 a year towards potential harmful impacts they may have on the Butler Pond Road.
You remember we were supposed to be able to go on the trails up on the mountain?
Yeah, well, Jack Diamond said that was possible.
Yeah. He's gone now. Hall's in there. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else like to speak to the town board on any of the resolutions before us tonight? All right, seeing none. Any town board thoughts on any of the resolutions before us tonight?
No.
Any?
4-4.
4-4?
That's good.
4-4 will do roll call. Any others for roll call? Hearing none. 4-4 is the only one for roll call. Will you, Karen, can we do 4-4 first?
Sure. So, resolution authorizing business remote deposit service agreement with Glens Falls National Bank and Trust Company.
Okay, is there a motion to put that resolution forward?
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Perot, seconded by Councilwoman Atherton. Roll call vote on 4.4, please.
Councilperson Atherton?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Stroud?
Yes.
Medevere?
Abstain.
All right. The remaining resolutions, 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, all the way to 4.26, accepting 4.4. Anybody like to put those resolutions forward?
I'll introduce.
Introduced by Councilman Medevere, seconded by Councilwoman Atherton. Roll call vote on the remaining resolutions, please, Karen.
Sure. Councilperson Brown?
Yes.
Stroud?
Yes.
Medevere?
Yes.
Atherton?
Yes.
All right, all resolutions passed this evening. Good evening. All right, now the next part of this is I will open up the discussion to anything, not just resolution, anything that you wish to talk to the town board about. Is there any member of the public who wishes to talk to the town board about something? Yes, sir. State your name for the record, please.
Good evening, John Hoy, 62 Haviland Avenue.
John, what's the last name?
Hoy, H-O-Y.
Oh, boy, okay.
This is in regards to a permit that was issued here in the town of Queensbury. It happens to be a solar permit. It was issued for a property at 64 Haviland. As usual, typical Queensbury, 35 pages, dot the I's, cross the T's, what hardware, how it's going to be mounted. Perfect. Typical Queensbury stuff. That particular unit gets mounted up on the roof. I'm not a hater of solar, electric. Please don't take it that way. It looks good. It fits into the atmosphere. That was installed on November 27th. Towards the end of the day, a group of the workers go down to the back of the property. They're actually on my property line. I make an inquiry. Now, apparently, they're going to install what they call a ground mount system. At no point in these 35 pages is there any mention of this ground mount system. The approval is for roof mount only. I call the town of Queensbury. I don't know if I'm allowed to mention names, but I speak with our buildings code fella. He comes over, he puts a cease desist order on it. Reason being, it's not in the permit. Not allowed to do that. Okay, I feel a little bit better. Next day, November 28th at 9:08 a.m. Imagine that. I don't know when the business day starts, but at 9:08 a.m., something that looks no different than my loose leaf piece of paper has a hand-drawn, non-engineering, non-official, all of a sudden stamp for approval. So I call back to town of Queensbury. Town of Queensbury, we have no rules, no regulations, no guidelines, no anything pertaining to ground mount systems. We're talking little half-inch of property, half acre of property. My neighbor's is a half an acre, and this thing is on my property line. Sorry, John, can't do anything. There's nothing on the books. 10 by 12 shed is allowed to, or has a certain setback. Swimming pools. There's rules and regulations for everything in Queensbury, but now somehow ground mounted. This thing is approximately 50 foot in width, and it's more than 16 foot high. Size of a billboard, size of something that the drive-in movie theater over here has. It's that big, it's that obnoxious. When everything is said and done, it's 3.5 feet from my property. Once again, I make the inquiry. Sorry, John. Even though that piece of paper, which is now turned into an official engineered piece of paper, says it's 20 foot 10 inches from my property, nothing about this up to this point is done right, but don't you know it gets a stamp of approval. So this is something I've lived with since November. I've made inquiries. I know Jennifer's not here. She's been over to my house. She walked down the walkway. I can't even tell you what came out of her mouth as far as an expression. She was taken back also, extremely surprised at what was allowed to happen. Do a little more digging. What I find out is that my neighbor is now leasing that little chunk of property to the owner of Apex Solar. He gets X amount of dollars a month. Apex Solar benefits that they can now collect, store, and resell the electric, I guess, if that's how solar works. That to me is a business. We're a residential neighborhood. We're not zoned for businesses, are we? Selling electric, so on and so forth. I do a little more homework. I find out that, in fact, we do have rules and regulations. Maybe not the town of Queensbury, but the state of New York. NewYork.gov has a big solar handbook. You can look into it. Specifically, they do mention ground mount systems and all kinds of, I hear it here for a multitude of other things. impact surveys, environmental impact surveys, site plans, this, that, the other thing. They have that, and they call it an SEQR report. I don't know what that stands for or what the acronym's for, but apparently here in Queensbury, we do not have an SEQR report in regards to ground-mounted solar.
Well, that is State Environmental Quality Review Act, and that is SEQR. And when you do a law or a major proposal before a planning board, you have to do SEQR. And that's the state equality. We do SEQR. We did it tonight for the new law. So I think what you're saying, though, John, and I need to investigate this downstairs a little bit more. When I say downstairs, is I go down and I talk to the building and codes people that you were referring to and see what we can find out about the matter. But I think I understand, and your time's up, but I'm trying to just summarize. I think, in summary, if you will, your concern is the aesthetic, or lack of.
Mine and about 4 other neighbors, yes, sir. All right. Yeah, it's bad. It's bad.
So let this board look into the matter, and if it's a consensus of this board to try and adopt laws that prevent this from happening in the way that it did. So let me find out a little bit more, John.
Is there a reason that you would not, or you might be on the fence about adopting? Because that's what I've been told, is I have to come to the lawmakers. So what I'm saying is, since we have such a gray area, we're going to allow company, to wit Apex Solar, to sort of exploit the fact that we don't have rules or regs, and this can just happen to the next guy and to the next guy and to the next guy. I mean, the impact, my southern neighbors, again, 5 feet from them, they can't even look out their back window without the glare. When do we learn to say no and say, listen, erroneously, you put that thing up, take it down, let us do our impacts, let us do our surveys, let us see if this is something we're going to allow on X amount of property, blah, blah, blah.
I know. Here, let me summarize this. I think I know where you're going, and I think that you've identified a gray area that we need to look into. So are you going to be staying? The rest of the meeting should be over with in about 10 minutes.
Oh, I will stay, sure.
I'll get your contact information.
Okay.
And we will follow up on it.
I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you, board.
Any other member of the public wish to speak to the town board about any town topic? George?
I'd like to talk about the cemetery for a little while here. I've been watching was it 3 months ago you passed a law that says you're going to put them people on Saturdays. But they had a contract, according to the radio, they had a contract that they worked 7 to 3. And then you were going to make them work Saturday for the crematory.
We didn't change the daily hours. We changed, instead of Monday through Friday, our superintendent wished to have somebody that works Tuesday through Saturday.
Yeah, but didn't they have Monday through Friday in their work schedule? I know when I worked down the Pines, my schedule was Monday through Friday.
That's part of the whole grievance issue that we dealt with tonight, all right?
Yeah.
So, their point of view is yes. Our point of view may be different. In any event, we had a little hearing on the matter tonight, so I can't really say anything about it at this point in time.
Yeah.
But I understand.
But the only thing I'm saying is they belong to a union. They had a contract. Now, if their contract ain't no good, and
they do have a contract, and it is good. And
not when you put them on Saturdays.
The contract doesn't say that we can't.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to get into a detailed discussion. I can't right
now. But I'm just saying that I know you were a teacher.
Yeah.
So you had one of the strongest unions there is behind you. And if you can't respect that union, and same way with your truck drivers and stuff, they were all here.
I know.
And then if you can't respect them.
This board does respect the union.
No, you don't. Not when you put them on Saturday. And then
wait a minute, George. Sometimes you have to balance what is best for the department. What is best, the service that you're providing the public. okay? So we do want to do that. And there's nobody on this board that I know of that feels we did violate anything. And we're trying to resolve the matter.
Yeah.
If we can resolve it amicably, we will.
Yeah.
But right now, we're in the middle of going back and forth on the matter.
Yeah. But I'm telling you now, if my foreman come to me, even if I'm in a union and stuff, if the foreman was any kind of a foreman, they would come and talk. It sounded like she never talked to them people until they come here. They didn't know nothing about it until they come here. And that, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's the way to run a shop. Yeah.
All right, so don't make assumptions that aren't true. We did talk to them.
Yeah, but I thought it was pretty underhanded myself.
Well, I don't think it was underhanded, but I appreciate your concern.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Anybody else wish to speak to the town board about any town topic? All right, seeing none, let's go to town board discussions. Let's start with George first.
I don't have much tonight. I just bring back up the trails that we talked about tonight. There's so much that this town offers, and I know you and Mr. Montesi worked hard on some of the early trails and that, and it seems like a lot of this stuff is just bringing all of those discussions from years ago to fruition, and I'm looking forward to the Halfway Brook Trail because that's right in my neighborhood. So, and the Peter Canal one should really help to bring it all around. So, looking forward to that.
Yeah. Well, with the support of the board, we can get that done, and you have done it. I want to thank you for that.
Yeah.
Anything else?
That's it.
Ditto.
Catherine?
I might even start riding the bike.
It's good for you.
Yeah, well, walking is too. So I'll walk the trails.
Walking is good.
Yeah. First of all, I just want to comment on the waterfront residential changes that occurred tonight. They wouldn't have occurred unless the citizens had come forward with some suggestions as to what to do. We probably wouldn't have done it. So it's just really that it's very important for citizens to come and put forth their suggestions or their ideas or their complaints, because this is a really good place for people to listen. So just want to thank everyone on the committee for that. I have two events. One is an online event. I'm going to do it, but and it's put on by Transition US on May 8th at 7 p.m. to 8:30. It's about permaculture. The permaculture movement, and it's done by the coordinator, one of the co-originators, David Holmgren. The permaculture movement began in 1978, and it's going to show how suburbs and gardens can be transformed into productive, resilient, and sustainable places to live through garden farming. There is a cost to this, which is kind of unusual, but it's $15, and if you're interested, go to transitionus.org. The second item I have is the fourth, possibly fifth film. I think it's the fourth, and the last of our spring series of films at the library in the public interest, which is done by Transition and the library in collaboration with the library. This is a really interesting film. It's called The Bold Peace. It's Costa Rica's path of demilitarization. And don't know if anyone's aware that in 1948, Costa Rica disbanded their entire military structure. So this is like 70 years later. It was kind of an experiment to have a country without a military, and it's told through, and it's been very successful. And it's told through the lives of former presidents, current leaders, scholars, activists, and ordinary Costa Ricans. It's an amazing thing, and they're also moving to. It's been a courageous thing, really, and they're also moving to living carbon neutral by 2021. So, a very interesting film at the library. Monday, this 6:30.
Oh, Monday.
Monday.
It'll be
It's
done on Monday.
I know, they're on Mondays this season, so I'm trying to change that for next season so I can go. But yeah, that should be really good. That's it, thank
All
you.
right, thank you. Tony?
I read in the paper where Bolton has now passed.
Tomorrow night, we have the public hearing.
Transfer, septic transfer law.
Yeah.
Yes,
So it'll be interesting, but it's for the entire town.
Yes.
So,
not just waterfront.
right. Best of luck to them. I hope
Yeah, we
that
should do
works
it.
out. We do need to discuss the possibility of cameras as an inspection source versus digging up boxes because there have been some issues with it.
And what, did you speak to Dave on that?
No.
That's another whole way of looking at the world. There's always two sides to every coin.
Did he,
All in
is
that.
he against it?
No.
Okay.
No, but in that particular case you're talking about,
Yep.
it's not as simple as it may appear.
Okay. All right. Beyond that, really have nothing. It's warm in here.
Okay, yeah, it is warm in here. It's almost like summer, huh?
Yeah.
What is wrong with this weather? It warmed up, the sun was out today. Somebody want to put a complaint in? All right, just a couple of announcements. Our MS4 annual report is on our website for any member of the public that wishes to view the draft version of it before we make it final. Also, the flushing program, our fire hydrant flushing program will start on May 13th. The Chronicle said on or about May 6th. It's supposed to be May 13th. Letter from Mayor Blaze, a wonderful person and a wonderful leader for the village of Lake George and for the rest of us, I might add. And he talks about the student connection that Councilman Medevere is more familiar with the rest of it. Our annual employer and housing seminar is planned for May 7th at the Holiday Inn Resort from 9 to 12. And representatives from the Department of Labor, Department of State, visa sponsors, local housing codes will be there to discuss the J-1 guidelines and laws. We have 2 student welcome orientations for May 21st and June 18th. And representatives from the fire, police, transportation, medical, and local officials will explain local laws, services, and greet students. They will receive handbooks, bicycle lights, umbrellas, first aid kits, ponchos, and we have over 50 bicycles to distribute to interested students and have planned at least 2 to 3 bus trips to Boston, Niagara Falls, and Lake Placid. All these trips are sold out in 2018. They have developed a list of available housing, but that remains a major challenge. And I know that Warren County Safe and Quality Bicycle Organization and Tony are offering how to operate their bicycles safely, because that is something that some of them don't do and they need to. Fortunately, I don't know of anybody that's gotten seriously hurt, but we're going to be doing some bicycle training and do's and don'ts and safety at that meeting too. And I know that Tony is our representative at those meetings. All right, thank you, Mayor Blaze, and thank you for all you do for the greater community. Okay, I see all the leaves bagged up, and they're all bagged in biodegradable paper bags. That's good. And I see the twigs are not exceeding 4 inches. That's good. All right, starting today through the 17th is Ward 3, so get it out there. May 20th through the 24th is going to be Ward 4. Ward 2 is May 28th through the 31st. And Ward 1 is June 3rd to the 7th. And they do go back around. So if they missed you, we do go back around. Also got a letter from Basil Segos, the Commissioner of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. And on behalf of the New York State agency sponsoring Climate Smart Communities program, I congratulate you and the town of Queensbury on adopting the Climate Smart Communities Pledge. And the letter goes on. Also, we got 2 publications from LGA and the Lake George Land Conservancy, and I know that Chris has left because the Fund for Lake George does that. And it's all the good things that they're doing for Lake George, and they are doing a lot of good things for Lake George. And I didn't want to go without mentioning all their fine efforts. And lastly, my report to the town board and community. And as you know, I just try and go through and highlight. All right, we had a meeting with Gordian, and I believe that George was with me. No? Yes?
Well, the first one, yes.
And Gordian is a constructing outfit that pre-bids all the building. Pre-bids like work, sheetrock, building, construction, paving, anything you want. They've already pre-bid everything. So you can go through them to get projects done. Everything's already been bid out. Good or bad, we're kind of sampling the waters here. We're going to test with the cemeteries in the building that they need for maintenance and equipment storage. We don't know if we're going to go with it or not at this point. Okay, then I had a meeting with Mayor Blaze and Supervisor Dickinson and Senator Chuck Schumer at the Steel Pier and on board the Lac du Saint-Sacrement to discuss some of Lake George's issues, primarily the wastewater treatment plant and the cost of it and the impacts on the small community. Went to the Open Door Gala fundraiser. This is an organization that deserves the credit. And I helped host the event. Jennifer Switzer, Tricia Freer, Catherine Atherton were all there. And they thank us for the support. ARCC President Michael Biddle did a wonderful job as Master of Ceremonies. Then Earth Day, we got rained out.
We did.
No other day is planned for that?
No.
Okay. I'll save my speech for next year then.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good. It won't be.
It'll still be valid,
That's right.
trust me. Let me see. A lot of site visits for flooding. I gave the board a summary of them today in the last week's flooding things that many of you have been involved with indirectly or directly. Ribbon cutting of the new TD Bank. It's not new, they renovated it. It's beautiful inside. It's it's on Quaker Road and it's very customer friendly now. Okay, met with Shaw Hammond and Rise Engineering about the Dickler Street lamps to get the final things. I did a presentation of Robert Rogers. The theme of my presentation was From Boy to French and Indian War Hero to the at the Fort William Henry Convention Center. Went to the Wing Fest. That's important to me.
We got Jets this year?
And then I went to the NAACP Gala fundraiser for the scholarships. And the next day I did the Northeast Kidney Foundation fundraiser with Maria Gagliardi, one of our employees who had a kidney transplant. And so far it's worked for her, and that's wonderful. And she's a wonderful person, so I was glad to do that. Went to Richmond Drive, Councilman George Ferrone. We're trying to solve that problem. And Apres Circle, I went there with Jennifer. She's not here, she's not well tonight, so she couldn't make the meeting. And it's funny because just went up there last week, have the engineers assess it, and then I got an email. You got any plans to fix it yet? Mm-hmm. Huh? No, it takes a while to research the paperwork and everything else, so. Then I had a conversation with Chris Belden, the Warren County Planning Department, about our 678 grant, and Lake Champlain Lake George Regional Planning Board is willing to do the development of the Lake George Comprehensive Plan, and he's supposed to investigate. And I said, well, there's some members want to make sure that if you're doing it without an RFP, one, are we getting the best service? And two, is it all lawful that this other entity do the Lake George Master Plan as part of that 678 grant that we agreed to sponsor way back when? And the Department of State is keeping it alive because they want us to put together this master plan for Lake George. So we'll work on that. And then I wrote a nice review for a new insurance agent in town. Tony Askew has the Allstate over on Western Avenue. And I've known Tony for 50 years, so it was no problem writing him a strong recommendation of the benefits of going up with him. Then I went to the YMCA Earth Service Awards Banquet at Chingachgook. Bob Underwood gave the presentation about his life and how the outdoors has affected it. I never knew, I've known Bob Underwood, I don't know, for 40 years. I never knew that he was, did worldwide competitions and competed for, but wasn't in, but competed for the Olympics in kayak. Yeah, okay, well that took me by surprise, but he's a person of that kind of character and strong person and does a lot for needy children in the area as well, he and his wife Heidi. And this was to give students recognition for their earth-related studies and efforts. Local schools, Greenwich, Queensbury, Lawrenceburg, Lake George, all over, Glenspall. I can't tell you about. I'll tell you about the slide. And then Don Lehman called me about what are we doing about the Route 9 flooding, and I said, well, we finally made some headway, got permission from the owner to go on to the site that we think was designed to handle the water, and something failed, but we need the owner's permission to go on their site. This is the part of Route 9 near Dunkin' Donuts that floods. And during the winter, it ices up, and they got to salt the heck out of it. And anyhow, we think we know what the problem is. We need the permission from the owners to go on the site to be able to excavate and dig it up and see what the system is there and if it's failing, or if we have to put something new in or fix what's there. Anyways, we're going to get there. Then Jack Mance and Aaron Frankenfeld, because there was a grant opportunity, and I wondered if the town could take advantage of this grant opportunity. And what I wanted, they said, probably not. But they said, you could use it for this. I think you'll like this. Quaker Road, Aviation Road. 40,000 cars a day go through Route 9 Quaker Road intersection. It's huge. Now it works pretty well. And a lot of people have said, can't you coordinate those lights on Aviation Road, going from the interstate all the way out to Dix Avenue? Can't you coordinate those? And I said, I think they are coordinated because I end up stopping at every red light the whole way. They must be coordinated, but they aren't. And I guess there's distance issues and so forth. Besides that, timing coordination depends on your speed, right? If there's time, they're going to assume that you started up and you got up to speed and it took a certain amount of time and you were going the speed limit, which I'm sure you all do, and then you go to the next light and it changes green for you, right? All right. It just doesn't work well. However, there is what they call the adaptive control system. It's a smart control system. It monitors the whole corridor's traffic flow. The whole corridor. It knows how many cars are there, what direction they're going, how fast they're going. And then it's like a smart signalized corridor. It changes the signals to arrive at the best flow of traffic. And there might be grant money for this. Okay, that'll be interesting. All right, and I've got a good ending to you. As you know, the west side of Bay Road flooded. Why did it flood? Well, because a culvert that goes under Canterbury Woods which is a private road and a private culvert, got blocked. And that is a major flow. I mean, you're talking about a 4 or 5 foot culvert. It's not a small culvert. This thing's big. It got blocked. And it backed up water. It was going up the backyards of people. There was like a lake over on the west side of Bay Road, opposite SUNY Adirondack. So it took 3 days. We finally found the end of the culvert. They had an excavator there, and they were able to excavate, get the debris out of the way and free it up. And yesterday, I did another site inspection. It's flowing freely, everything's working, the water's gone down, it's out of people's backyards, everyone's happy. Okay. Okay. Town board meeting tonight. That's it for me. So, all right, it's 13 minutes before 9. Anything else for the good of the order? Thank you, Town Council Bob Hafner. Thank you, Deputy Town Clerk Karen O'Brien. Thank you, Town Board. Thank you, Public, and Joel Barlow, and Look TV, and our sponsors, especially Stored Tech. Thank you all for being here. Is there
So moved.
a motion to adjourn by Councilman Barone, second by Councilwoman Atherton? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The following program is underwritten by the generous support of Associates of Glens Falls and Loomis and Lipan Insurance. Since 1852, they have been assisting both businesses and individuals across the country secure the most comprehensive insurance products available. Associates of Glens Falls and Loomis and Lipan are one of New York's largest independently owned insurance agencies. Public affairs programming on Look TV is underwritten by the generous support of Pinnell's Restaurant, classic Italian American food since 1922, and Stored Tech, technology solutions for computers, networks, and phone. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
1922, Babe Ruth debuts with the Yankees. WGY signs on air. Exterminator wins the Saratoga Cup, and Pinnell's Restaurant opens its doors for the very first time. For 5 generations, Pinnell's has been preparing delicious Italian food, served in a comfortable, home-like setting where everyone is welcome. 90 years of authentic Italian recipes, 90 years of the freshest ingredients, and 90 years of the finest classic Italian dishes, all made daily by hand. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga dining tradition since 1922.
Firms deal only with prevention, the systems that block hackers and viruses. Stored Tech knows the root cause is actually good people doing bad things. So we offer a security training program which includes certifying all participants to show they understand the basics.
Technology solutions for computers, networks, and phones. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.